Marketing Alliance, whose client passion radiates throughout her projects. She prides herself on curating content and sparking conversations around social media engagement. Association Trends magazine recently named her one of her efforts as the best 2016 social media campaign for associations in the U.S. In addition, Jen is the founder of Elephants DC, a nonprofit organization dedicated to ending ivory sales worldwide and promoting elephant well-being. In her role as president, Jen organized several marches for elephants to the White House, which have been featured in National Geographic. She successfully advocated for a total ivory and rhino sales ban worldwide in the state of New Jersey, which went on to become the first complete domestic commercial ban in U.S. history. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Burlington County Regional Chamber of Commerce, for having me today, and thank you, TD Bank, for being the sponsor. And I'm very honored that there's an elected official here. So thank you, Mayor, for being here. Wonderful, wonderful. So today we're going to talk about how to create engagement using or utilizing the power of social media. And for this event, I thought anyone who is on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn could engage with this topic using the hashtag #EngageNow. And again, I am a social media specialist at Creative Marketing Alliance. Creative Marketing Alliance is currently celebrating its 30th year anniversary as a small marketing firm, small business in central New Jersey. And I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity again to be here before you all. So with social media, there can be some trepidation in terms of doing your first tweet, doing a post, and the number one rule is to start, to engage. Does everyone here have a Twitter account? Raise your hand if you do. Okay, so you are young professionals, so it does make sense that you're active. How about Facebook? Has anyone had a Facebook account and deleted it? Okay, well I did once. My ex. And then LinkedIn. I'm guessing everyone in the room has LinkedIn, correct? Okay. So we're going to talk about those three channels today and how you can leverage that for your personal brand as well as your business brand. And we're going to be talking about tips, tricks, and tactics for navigating social media professionally, socially, and most importantly, effectively. We're also going to be discussing how your personal brand and branding for your business are actually interconnected, and you can leverage content differently on different social media channels to engage that branding to different targeted audiences, but still have an underlying theme. So what is social media? Any thoughts? One word. What is social media?
Opportunity.
Opportunity. Okay. Anyone else?
Communication.
Connections.
Great, great. Anyone else?
Interaction.
Interaction. Okay, very good. So it's an opportunity to tell your story. You need to know your audience in order to do that well. It's an opportunity to interact, connect, and engage, to grow and foster relationships that ultimately build trust. They can trust your brand, they can trust your service, they can turn to you in trouble. Knowing, for example, if you are in a law firm and they know that because of all the great photos that the law firm posts on social media, that this is a family-friendly firm, that people aren't just a number, they're people. So if you have a problem, you're going to remember that law firm is a law firm that treats people like people, and that will be all going back to the branding of that particular law firm. And then create change, tweet by tweet, post by post, and moment by moment. Can anyone recall recently in the past year or so a time when social media had an impact on society, a government, your own friends? Any example in which social media you've noticed an impact? Elections? Okay, yes, that's a really good point. And what's very interesting is that I'm a big proponent of hashtags. There are certain organizations or entities or people that don't need to use hashtags on Twitter. President Donald Trump is one of them. He hardly ever uses hashtags, and his tweets still go viral. Bloomberg is another example. They have thought leadership, and they forecast the stock market, and they're so good at what they do, they don't have to use hashtags. But for the most part, hashtags do help accentuate a brand message. But then again, with Trump, if you look back at, I believe it's beginning June 2000, 2015 or so into 16, Trump dominated Twitter. And a lot of the Fortune 500 companies are really monitoring that and seeing that there's these huge spikes of engagement on Twitter where everyone else on Twitter, the data, the frequency on Twitter is like this. And when Donald Trump starts tweeting, it goes all the way up here. It skyrockets. And that's media, that's pro, advocates and opponents. But all of that is creating very increased engagement. So we're going to identify your audience and where they live socially. And we're, again, be focusing on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn today. And these are some of the top channels of social media, although I am remiss that Instagram, we didn't have a chance to add it in because there's just so much to talk about. Instagram is very, very big, and I highly encourage everyone to get started on that channel if you haven't already. So LinkedIn is an opportunity to interact with other professionals. This was last week in Orlando, Florida. One of my clients is called the International Card Manufacturers Association. It has roughly 250 members worldwide, manufacturers of cards, the cards in your wallet. From gift cards, which are considered non-secure cards, to secure cards, such as your debit card. There's actually an association of manufacturers who produce that. They get together every year at an annual expo where you have vendors with different machinery. And we have been using the same hashtag for a few years, this hashtag ICMA Expo, and this year we really saw some great results from that, including some of the top corporations, the top members, top vendors tweeting us before we even got a chance to tweet at them, whereas last year we were sort of the ones putting out the tweets and the individuals from those companies were tweeting us back. So a huge step forward to have the corporations engage first. But that's what happens when you put it out there. It takes a little bit of time, but you do see results. So LinkedIn is an interactive, multimedia, business-oriented networking platform. I'm sure you're all very familiar with LinkedIn. It was founded in 2002. It's used by roughly 500 million professionals, and it's a good place to put out thought leadership, industry news that impact your business, and also key experiences that have impacted your life as a professional. So you want to be very, very careful with the information you put on LinkedIn. If you're hanging out with all your friends, you don't necessarily want to show the dancing picture the night before on LinkedIn. It's really about your image on LinkedIn as a professional. So if you're a writer or if you are a new business development executive, a good post could be recent projects that you did that made the news, sharing that. So I actually have my LinkedIn page here to show this is what my public profile looks like, and these are all choices that you can all make in terms of how you want to present yourself. Now I was here about a year ago, and there was a gentleman who spoke on LinkedIn, and I apologize for not remembering his name, but he was an expert on LinkedIn, and he was really fabulous. And he had the good point that for your headshot, not mugshot, headshot on LinkedIn, you want it to be professional, and 90%, maybe 95% of the time, look forward in your picture. Once in a while, there could be a really cool picture that is so professional and in such a cool location, you can get away with like a side shot. But for the most part, one of the most important pieces of information I will tell you today, and we'll get to this in a little more detail in a moment, is when you post and share on social media, do not use blurry images. Do not use blurry images, do not use blurry images. And so it's important to check too, because sometimes you think a photo might have good resolution, but then when it's shared, it becomes blurry. And if you share a blurry photo, the chances of it being retweeted are pretty slim. And even if I like the content of a post, and I actually am so excited, if the person tweeting at me did a blurry image, 99% of the time I'm not going to retweet it, I'll just like it. But back to LinkedIn. So obviously this is a place for your professional work history to be displayed, for you to network. It's important to ask for recommendations and also to give recommendations. You can include publicly a list of all of the different successes you have done per company, or you can just have it if people have to connect with you in order to get that information. And then your skills are very important, as well as obviously your education. But it's really up to you how to curate your own information on LinkedIn. And then when people actually connect with you, there's a new ability on LinkedIn where you can add media. So I've added a couple different interviews for the Elephants, a couple different testimonials at different states to ban ivory sales, as well as some great marketing events that I've attended through Creative Marketing Alliance. So that's all for you to think about for your LinkedIn. And another thing that's important is your professional summary on LinkedIn. So who you are, what do you want people to know about you, what are your top skills, but it's sort of, you know, that elevator pitch. But think about your LinkedIn page as the best of you. So your greatest achievements. And then also when you're talking about what your job function has been or is at a current role, be sure to include successes. You know, because you reviewed the budget and cut costs by 20%, you saved $5 million. Those are the types of tangible examples that will make a difference with recruiters. Yes, sir, if you say your name and ask your question.
Bill, for some folks who I'm connected with, they won't share their connections. What's the pluses and minuses and sort of thoughts behind if you should or shouldn't?
That's a really great question. And so my dad is actually a professional career counselor, and he is like a top LinkedIn guy. So he's a real expert on LinkedIn. And he really has, you know, advised me that that's a shame. So basically what that means is for the people that are cognizant about it, they want your connections but aren't willing to share their connections with you. And so I know my dad doesn't connect with people that do that. I'm sure some people don't realize that it's off-putting, but this is really about connecting professionally. So if you're trying to connect with someone to grow your network, or someone reaches out to you that you want to connect with, just connect. You know, at that point, it's a professional network. So if you're hiding your connections, then maybe you shouldn't be connecting with that person to begin with, or vice versa. Any other questions about LinkedIn? I think that's going to be the last slide for LinkedIn for now. Any other questions on LinkedIn? We can always go back then. So now we're going to talk about Facebook, which is one of my faves. Everyone sort of who is a social media specialist might have a favorite channel that they go to. Facebook is obviously a place to connect with friends and family. I believe it's about 80 to 85% of our connections on Facebook are people we know. I don't know, I definitely reconnected with a lot of people from high school and elementary school over the past 10 years because of Facebook. And it also allows you to reach out to new connections for a cause. And so that's one of the reasons how I was able to get started with Elephants, was connecting with people on Facebook who were all very distraught that elephants faced extinction because of the ivory trade. So again, Facebook is a place to share and connect. Does anyone get notifications if someone tags you in a photo? Mm-hmm. So everyone does. And you get notifications on your phone about that, or on your phone. So we're so connected with our devices today. It's not only changing the way that children are thinking. I have a 2 1-year-old one nephew who's 1 and a niece who's 1, and they're like, you know, obviously they're babies and they know about the phone. My 4.5-year-old niece Adeline is Zoom, Zoom, Zoom. But it's not just the kids. It's changing the way our brains function. Sometimes I feel like I'm missing something if I don't have my phone. So I think it's also to be important to be cognizant that it's good to put it away, because then when you come back to it, you can do better work, and also to hold on to nature. But back to Facebook. Founded in 2004, 2.5 billion pieces of content are shared daily. There are business pages, which are really fantastic, which we'll talk about, personal pages, and then you can increase engagement. The how on the post is via tagging, boosting, sharing, liking, and commenting. All basic ways to engage. Boost would be the paid boosting, and it's very important when you do paid boosting that you target people that do not yet like your page. I would highly recommend not targeting people that already like your page, because you want to build your audience. And also, when you do boosting, you can strategically go after people who like something that you're trying to connect them to. So if someone likes butterflies and you're trying to save monarch butterflies, when you're boosting a picture of a butterfly, it's very easy. You just put for interest, they like butterflies, and then this paid boost goes in front of them. and then 1.5 billion users worldwide on Twitter. And the really big thing happening right now is live video, which we're doing on CMA's Facebook page. Live video is a really great way to spike engagement, whether it's the government's Facebook page or a business Facebook page. If you're doing an event or even a special moment, or you have a customer that's so happy, ask for a 30 or 60-second testimonial where they say their name, where they're from, or their business, and just a few words about what your service did for them. And you'll be surprised how quickly that could spike your engagement. And most people will say yes. One thing to be cognizant of is lighting. So with an iPhone, outside with daylight, you can get really great video. But if it's indoors at night, it could be very dark. So I have learned that the hard way, doing live video. So I just thought, I'll show you my Facebook page and talk about it just a little bit. So I'm an elephant advocate. So that's what I call my side gig, Endangered Species Advocate. So I have testified in about 12 or 13 different states around the country for a complete ivory sales ban and rhino horn sales ban. And I basically used social media to leverage support in New Jersey in 2014. And it was just starting to put out like hashtag ban ivory sales. It's so weird, you don't think about this, but when you do hashtags, it's capital B, capital I, capital S. If it's all lowercase, it's a little hard it becomes like spaghetti language. So when you're putting a hashtag, you want it to stand out. You want it to be easy for people to type themselves. That's how it goes viral. Because people can retweet, but when they add their own message to it, that's when engagement, again, starts to spike up more. So for my personal Facebook page, you have an opportunity to do a little intro. I normally used to say writer, but I just changed that up a little bit to say push boundaries, break limits, and love life. So if someone isn't friends with me, they would see that, top photos. I'm in the most photos with my sister Holly in 2017, visited 15 cities. In 2016, more top photos, some New Jersey lawmakers, and I'm in the most photos with my other sister Trisha. So I'm very grateful that it's one sister 1 year and the other sister the other year, very even. And then, I just used to say where you're from. I choose not to say where I live now. It is Lambertville. I love it. But I'm from Landenberg, so I kept that there. And my 2 job roles, one at Creative Marketing Alliance, and one as the founder and president of Elephants DC. For a cover photo, does everyone use cover photos for their Facebook? What do you guys have? Any examples for your cover photo right now?
Children.
Children, so your children. Okay, so it's your story, your family, most important.
4-leaf clovers.
What is 4-leaf clovers?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Vacation.
Vacation, okay. So yeah, it's nice to have something inspiring for the cover photo for sure. And then I would just also say for your actual photo icon, just to have it as professional as possible, but it's more joyful, more light, more fun, can capture a moment in your life. So this is Elephants DC. So this was the Facebook page that I launched in, I guess, December 2013. And this was after our first International March for Elephants. We marched to the White House from the Lincoln Memorial, or that year we marched from Chinatown to the White House. And does anyone remember the government shutdown in 2013?
Yeah.
That was the same year, the same week. And we were being told that there's no way you're going to get a permit. There's no way, because the federal government's shutting down. And then like the day before, the National Park Service called and said, we're going to make an exception for the elephants. I was like, thank goodness. But then after we had this event, like ban ivory sales, people came from all over the country, and some people came in from Africa. Nothing happened. We came together, but there was no ban suddenly. So we started reaching out to congressional leaders and different senators, U.S. senators, and their offices would say, we know the ivory trade is funding terrorism, Al-Shabaab, Lord's Resistance Army, Boko Haram. We know that it's causing elephant extinction. We know it's destabilizing communities in Africa. But until you show popular support, this is Congress, we can't do anything. So that's why we started going state by state. And knowing New Jersey, New Jersey can get a bad rap. Sometimes people credit California again and again and again. But if you look at the letter of the law, 9 times out of 10, New Jersey was first to enact something that benefits society or stops cruelty. So it's a bit of a fearless state. So we were able to get New Jersey support. And again, leveraging social media. So on this page, we had, as of yesterday, almost 34,000 likes. And these are not like non-boost likes, so the people that like our page are what we call like elephant advocates, you know, hardcore elephant advocates. So we put something out there to be call to action. So imagine your business page. You can decide what video shows here, if you want your events here or if you want photos here. It's really up to you, or a video. Your videos could be the top. You have the ability to edit your page and how it looks to the public. You have the opportunity to write an about, which should be as concise as possible. This is probably a little long. I could probably reduce that to half. It's just what I originally wrote, so I'm sentimental. I'm keeping it. And then like contact information, website. Does everyone's business here have a website?
Yeah.
That's sort of the fundamental, because one of the big purposes for social media, besides events, is to drive people to your website where the real magic happens, or to get them to your business in front of you in person. So the website is absolutely key. And that's pretty much it for the Facebook page. The Facebook pages used to be different about a year ago, and I love them. I guess I love them, but it used to be really different where the cover photo was over the whole back, and then the icon was right here, and I just liked it a lot better. I talked to a Facebook industrial regional manager for the Northeast who said, this isn't changing, and everything's going to be going more and more and more video on Facebook, so just be cognizant of that. So we'll be seeing more innovative live feed opportunities, things that we can't do now. We'll have some new interactive components coming. You can also pin a post. So do people here pin posts on Facebook?
Yeah.
So there's different schools of thought to that. There's some schools of thought that you should change the pin post every day. Others like every week. It's really up to you, but it's all part of your strategy. The other thing with branding, obviously the logo is key, quintessential for your business page, and then the cover photo. So you can be cognizant and say, hey, our business is going to change our cover photo every quarter, or per season, or per month. I've never changed our cover photo. You actually can't take this photo anymore. This was by a photographer named Phil, who took that picture, and now there's like a big fence, so you can't even get this. But it's branding. You know, we could have changed it many times, we just never did. And now I don't think we ever would. So that's it with the Facebook. Any questions on Facebook page? Okay, great. Yes, ma'am.
So, Jen, what's your school of thought on people who have two Facebook pages, one for business and one for personal?
So you're talking about individual pages, individual personal pages, but one you're putting out there on a professional level and one private. That's a really good question, and I have a good friend, Marianne Romano, who does that. She's in the Lambertville area, just launched the Lambertville New Hope app, some of you may have heard of. She does that. I personally like to have one. I could always reactivate my old personal one, and it's just too much. So it really depends on how much effort you want to put into it. If you don't mind having one private just for family, I wish there was a way that you could take your professional personal page and make that an actual page, but Facebook doesn't have that capacity yet. You could potentially try to merge them.
Right. Well, just because we're kind of turning this to young professionals, I know, the two former young professionals that used to be here, this was their first job, and people were looking to connect with them via Facebook, and I know Chelsea, and I can use her as an example. I just talked to her, she's like, I've got lots of pictures of my sorority sisters and events and things like that, and I don't really know that I want, Les Val, my Kai from the Gloucester County Chamber, I don't really know if I want him to see that stuff. So what is your advice to young people when it comes to, it's their first job, Facebook may have some, fun party pictures from college and graduation and spring break and things like that, and now, older professional folks want to take their photo and tag them, so they want to be friends and things like that with them on Facebook. And what is your advice for someone like that?
You have such a great question. I guess a three-part answer. Number one, shut down the page and start a new one. And take your best photos that you love, the ones that are all professional, and repost them. Number two, you can take your private photos and make it so that only family or only close friends see it. I do that all the time, actually. A lot of my photos that are public, or even like friends, acquaintances, don't see a lot of my photos. So that's something you can do. You can decide who sees your photos. If someone tags you and it's like a picture of drinking like a whole bottle of champagne, even if it was New Year's Eve, still doesn't look that great, you can untag yourself. You can ask that person to just make it private so only their friends and your friends see. But those are three-part answer there. Deactivate the page and start a new one. Take your best stuff off of it first and start a new one. Number 2, go through and edit photos that are unprofessional and change the privacy to only you see it or only family or close friends. And number 3 would be, I think we have a power issue. And number 3 would be, you could always try, if your heart set in a certain field and you start to build some traction, you could always create a page for yourself and keep the personal page still a Facebook personal page, but you could create yourself a personal page. A lot of people do it and they start out with 1 like, and then the next day they have 50 likes and 250 and 250 likes after that. So if you're an artist, consider starting your own page, for example. Any other questions regarding Facebook? Yes, ma'am, in the back.
My name is Karen. Our Facebook page, if somebody likes it, is there a way to have, every time you post something, that they get an alert? You can follow someone and you get an alert every time they post something, but for a business page, can you do that?
Yeah, so basically for Elephants DC, I think we have right here it says 33,999 likes, and then our followers, it's not showing our followers, but our followers is 32,000. So basically when you like a page or you become friends with someone, Facebook has it so that you automatically follow them. So you actually have to go in and unfollow if you don't want to follow someone. Same thing with the things that you like. The minute that you like it, you automatically follow. So basically of the almost 34,000 roughly people that like Elephants DC, 1,000 of them unfollowed based on things that we posted or just not wanting to follow us.
But I'm saying, is there a way that I can, for my company's page, have it so that they get an alert every time we post something, they see it first, or they?
There is a way on the right, so basically you all are familiar with notifications, that little globe on the top of Facebook. So if the page, you get a notification from the page, at that point you can right click, I believe, and then there's an option to see more, see less, or see first. So you could personally see first, and if you're managing your company's Facebook, they can do that as well. But in order for the company to see the notifications of that,
Karen, they have to do it.
They have to do it, right?
You can't control it. They have to do it. Yeah.
That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So
you can encourage them by putting out something on your Facebook page that says, be sure to, click see first, and you'll get our alerts first. And encourage them to do that if people don't know how to do that, but you can't. They have to opt into that.
yeah, I thought that you were running the company's Facebook page. Are you doing that as well?
Yes, I'm talking about the company's Facebook page. I was wondering if I could get it so that whoever likes us is able to see it first.
That's up to them. They are, so it's up to them. It's up to them. But you can encourage people. I don't know if I would put out, follow us first, but you just want to inspire people with the hashtags so people want to stay engaged. You want it to happen organically. You want that to happen naturally.
Because we post job postings every day, so anybody who's searching would want to, I would think they would want to see that.
The hashtag job.
Yeah.
So now we're going to move on to Twitter. So Twitter is another great medium. It's one of my favorites. Twitter is a place to engage. Twitter is a place where you can take a hashtag and it can go viral. Twitter is a place where you can talk about trends, you can forecast markets, you can put out breaking news, you can tag a top writer or columnist from the New York Times, and they could retweet you because you put out the tweet in a way that they like it. So it's a really great way to engage with top targets, competitors, different thought leaders, people who inspire you, as well as professionals in your inner network, as well as those in the region, across the state, nation, and world. So yes, Twitter is extremely global. It's a place to connect, set trends, etc. And it's also a little bit of that micro level blogging where you're putting a piece of information out there since it's limited in the amount of text you can use. But Twitter is revolutionary. It's changed our world. It was part of the Green Revolution in Iran in 2008, which did fail, but that did get a lot of the young people rising up for democracy. Part of the Umbrella Revolution in Hong Kong, with the young youth trying to hold on to more democratic rights as Beijing is tightening its grip. And also part of the Arab Spring which saw different dictators fall, and also was part of the initial collapse of stability in Syria, which has caused a whole humanitarian crisis. And Twitter. In that case, I believe the Arab Spring, someone burned themselves, committed suicide, and that started that whole revolution in Tunisia. However, the Twitter was a huge way that it went viral. So basically, an event can happen, like the Paris massacre that happened, I think November 16th, 2016. It was hashtag Je suis Paris. So it was like a bad event happened, or sometimes it could be a good event like New Year's Eve, but hashtags will emerge out of that. But from a business perspective, you can take your campaigns, you can take products that you offer or services and create positive hashtags that put out a positive message to inspire people. So this is my Twitter page, and so I joined in 2007. And I think I did my first tweet in November 2013 after the first march. And so I used to write a lot of poetry. It's Jen Poetess. And I just have writer. A lot of people have much more descriptive bios with hashtags as well, which does make sense for businesses. So if your business is Blue Bank, and you would want to have a hashtag here, hashtag Blue Bank, just so that it's reiterated for people. You have photos I post. Now this is something I posted in October. It's a graphic image, and I tagged people. I tagged the White House. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service actually liked it. It was after the administration changed, which I thought was interesting. And then I did a quote. I like to use long dashes. So one thing that really inspires people on social media and in life are motivational statements, inspirational quotes. There's so much out there. But I really like to use for social media a long dash just to emphasize who the author is or who you're targeting. And then I did my hashtag, and I tagged this place where elephants were not given full protection, this international treaty. And anyway, and then it's my pinned post until something else big happens. And right now it's 100-ish retweets, and that's pretty much it. My cover photo is anyone know where this is? No? It's the State House. It's one of my favorite places on the planet, the New Jersey State House. I'm one of those people that because something special they're having with elephants, I'm always in awe of it. And also, again, New Jersey is a place where, from the Clean Water Act to saving the pinelands, we've done a lot of conservation and enacted a lot of anti-cruelty laws, even prevented horse meat consumption when Obama said that was okay. It was like within a few months, New Jersey said, that's our state animal, that's not okay here. So many other states, you can't get stuff like that done. With New Jersey, both sides of the aisle, they really do come together, and the kids, kind of expect them to, do the right thing. And so it's not all the time, but it does happen here, and I say it happens here more than other places. So I'm going through a couple of my Twitter months very quickly to show you things that work. These are all the top, my tweet highlights. So in January, I had a tweet, my tweet impressions were 32.5K. I had a little over 3,000 profile visits, as mentioned, 55 times, 211 new followers, and I did 43 tweets. So what I use Twitter for is from a social media perspective for communications, and I also like to promote my own clients. I also like to promote the community, and so I think it's also great that our sponsor, TD Bank, is very invested in the community, because that does really make a difference, having local banks support local nonprofits and local businesses, as well as New Jersey as a whole. There's so many municipalities here, it's such a tight-knit state. That if there's God forbid a fire in the neighborhood, there's 30 people out of their houses in a few minutes helping, and so that community is something that's I try to also put out on Twitter when I can to support for New Jersey. So the top tweet was, in America, restricted, the ivory trade still thrives. In China, pledges failed to replace our call, ban the ivory trade, ban it all, and a photo. And when you have a photo, you have an opportunity to tag up to 10 people. Sometimes you can just tag one, sometimes none, but it just allows the engagement to increase. And this was basically after breaking news that China banned ivory trade. but the fine print is not really. So, you know, we're trying to counter that at thought leadership level. A top follower was Larry, and this is a top media tweet. Look forward to a very historic year in New Jersey, and this is a GIF. Does anyone use GIFs? So it's very important for posts to have an image. The image can come from a URL. When you share a URL, it automating an image. It can also come from GIFs, as well as live video, and images. But GIFs are really great. There's that short video of action. And I really want to get into making my own GIFs for clients. I think that would be really cool, especially does anyone know PJ Pancakes in Princeton?
Yeah.
So I want to make some GIFs for them, like with pancakes. I gotta figure out how to do that. So this was December. Again, do you guys notice like the ones that are top have great images, and that it could be, you know, a clear picture of different business leaders can also work with a cool background. For December, my tweet impressions were way up. It was more than 120,000 tweet impressions. That means those are people that saw and potentially engaged. That's very different from potential reach. Potential reach is much higher, but that's not as tangible as the impressions. The impressions mean that people actually saw it and engaged. Profile visits was almost 15K, and new followers was almost 300. So that's very different from the month before, or the month after. So huge difference. So 43 tweets versus 144 tweets. So it got much more engagement. But this was the big one. I was retweeted by someone I tagged in this photo, and that's called, you know, a top target. So if you're doing a community event, let's say for Earth Day, April 22nd, and you're doing it at the local park, and there's like there's 5 organizations you would like to see attend, or there's 5 organizations that are sponsoring, whether it's the Little League or some local businesses. You can put a photo of the park or something for Earth Day and tag the people that are going to be coming, and tag media you would like to attend, and then there's a chance that they could not only attend but retweet and spike up engagement. So that's why targeting is so important. But I targeted a couple popular groups there, and one was a group out of England, and they retweeted, which is why it had like 150 likes. If I didn't tag them, it never would have got that much.
So Jen, I just want to share a story. So we took a trip to Washington a couple years ago, and one of our now board members were sitting at the restaurant, and she took a picture of her food and tweeted at the Dubliner and said, "Great, this is great, blah blah." I'm like, why are you doing that? Like this is probably, I'm trying to think of every day when I went to DC, probably 3 or 4 years ago, so maybe we weren't tweeting quite as much then. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, why? 5 minutes later, the manager comes over and says, "Who's Linda?"
Oh wow, see?
Right?
Yep.
Who's Linda? So I was really, that was like my first kind of connection of, wow, now I need to tweet my food, apparently.
Right,
The manager comes
right.
over and say, "Who's Linda?" And, you know, and conversely, we were about halfway through our meal. We had a group of 25 people there from out of town. No one came over to us. No one said, "Hi, thanks for coming, private party." No one said, you know, prepaid private party. No one came over and said anything until Linda tweeted a picture of her food.
So it's that engagement, and that's kind of like a home run engagement. You know, to put that tweet out there and then have the manager come. At that point, if I did the social media for the Burlington Chamber, I would say, "Can I go live now for 30 seconds?" But yeah, that's a fantastic story. Thank you for sharing that. Just a couple more. So this was November. So I guess December was what might have been one of my highest tweet impressions, but this was 70K, 95 tweets. So when I did 144 tweets, the tweet impressions was about 120K, 95 it's at 73K, and this was a top mention. So this global organization that organizes marches for elephants every year tweeted us when we did the Washington D.C. march, and it got retweeted more than 20 some times. This was a media tweet. Now this was actually off of the New Jersey coast. I don't know if anyone remembers this. There was a sighting of this beautiful whale, and NJ.com put it out there, and it went viral. And so I was just thanking them for putting out the whale, and it did really well. It got retweeted a lot. And this was, for a Revolutionary Woman event that I was honored at for the elephants. and it was an event that was honored. It honored different difference makers of the Revolutionary War era, and then at each event, different local women were also recognized. So here I am with CMA's founder and CEO, Jeff Barnhart, and I did hashtags, Elephants Extinction New Jersey. Typically, if you want something to go viral, use one hashtag on Twitter, but you can always play with it a little bit. And then last one, this is something I'm really proud of. Dan Ash, the former U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service director, we got in a Twitter war. I shouldn't say war. I shouldn't say war. Twitter. Yeah. Yeah. So, and it was fantastic. I think there's like 25 tweets in the end. And I was so grateful because, I've been tweeting at the White House for like 2 or 3 years. And finally, someone starts tweeting back. Basically, they made a decision not to elevate elephants to Appendix 1 standing, which would prevent ivory trade and live trade of wild baby elephants. And the U.S. said it would support the 33 African nations. The majority of African nations say we want a complete ban, we want no more live trade, and then once the U.S. was there, it rescinded, and he went on to be appointed to the head of the U.S. zoos. So I think, and I didn't know that at the time when we got into our Twitter spat, because maybe that's why he was so defensive, and maybe that's why he accidentally reacted and tweeted me, and now we ended up having people, for advocates, citizens from around the country tweet at him saying to ban ivory sales where they live. So that was pretty powerful. And then you get to see who some of the players are who come out, so you get to learn a lot. And then this was, just endangered species. I guess you never know what's going to go viral. This was a little white elephant. So I guess for your business, find your images that work for you, and then use them. And then very quickly, this is the Twitter Elephants DC. Right now we're at 12,000 followers. Never boosted anything there. If I post something on my Twitter, it might get 20 retweets, but Elephants DC I could get 100 retweets. And this is a GIF. People love the GIFs. And this says, "Protect the innocent. They sing the earth's most joyful song and gently remind us that the purpose of our lives is to love." And it's interesting because when I put that on Elephants DC on Facebook before, I've done the purpose of our lives is the love versus to love, and it actually does differently. It's very weird, but it's all about what language you use, and we're going to talk about composition, best practices for social media. So, it's great that you have these channels, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram for those that are out there using it, as well as Facebook. But if you're not putting out content strategically, and if you're just being emotive, then you're not going to be able to reach the goals that you may have to grow your business with the power of social media, which is word of mouth, trust building, a whole bunch of good stuff from social media. So you need your post to be concise. You need the post to be visual, to set trends, or to be part of trends if something's trending. If it's Christmas Day, that would be something to do, #Christmas. And interactive. So as interactive as you can get them, and that includes having a URL either for your website, or if, let's say, you're retweeting from a thought leadership perspective something about steel manufacturing, you would want to have, and you're referring to an AP source, you'd want to have an AP link to make it interactive so people could click on the link to learn more. So what makes a good post? Again, concise language. That's why I left it blank. Less is more. The longer a Facebook post is, the less likely people are to read it. You can always have more content on your website and include a URL to click on for more information. For Facebook, I would do like paragraphs, like maybe 1, 2, or 3, as concise as possible. We do a lot of one-liners in Elephants DC, and they do really well. And it's sort of like, oh, and post it, and like, okay, great, that did well. We try to inspire, because a lot of the other stuff we share is very depressing with extinction of elephants. Imagery. So this is actually an elephant that my nonprofit was able to secure in Zimbabwe in 2015, and it appeared for the first time in National Geographic. And the tragedy here was these elephants were in a national park and were taken out for cash from Zimbabwe after we imposed some trade sanctions. So it was sort of like a quid pro quo thing, and these elephants, not all survived, and they were shipped off to China in horrible conditions. So, the fact that their story was told, though, and social media help leverage that. That was important to let people know that that was happening. And then connect. So you can have a good post, but if you're not tagging people, even your location, that business, that post is not going to do as well as it could or reach as many people. So connecting is sort of like the big, tagging people is a big way to enhance connecting. Very quickly, these are 2 tweets from the trade event I was at last year, and we tagged, or this company tagged hashtag ICMA Expo, and highlighted an aspect of the expo, of the trade show, put a URL in, and also did a photo. So this is a visual tweet that looks good. This one was something I did, and I tagged our speaker, who was a futurist out of Hong Kong. He talked all about disruptive people actually being good to the creative process for businesses, in addition to a very structured corporate flow. He's a very interesting speaker. But anyway, he talked strategy at the expo. I tagged the location, and then I like to do colons when I do URLs. I just like the way it looks. Maybe something you like works better for you. And then I put the URL for Yahoo Finance, which was a media hit for a press release I wrote on him speaking at the expo. And then I tagged the president of ICMA, Jeff Barnhart, who's also the president of CMA. So that is just like a basic, for event, basic what you do. If you have a speaker, tag the speaker, use your hashtag, tag the location. If you're quoting a media article, put the URL and quote the media source. If I have time, which I don't always have time to do this, I like to tag the writer as well, in addition to the media outlet that the piece is published in. So just overview here. So social media, interact, connect, and grow. It's a place to leverage the media and build up your supporters, which is you can also call a fan base, to connect with your competitors, your customers, and your top targets. The more that you connect with people even on the other side, you might be surprised that it could lead you to potential new customers by engaging with your competitors first. We were going to briefly talk about how to tailor content to trending topics and hashtags to capitalize on potential reach and engagement. Do we have any questions so far before we get into hashtags? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about imagery.
Okay.
You mentioned resolution. How do you check resolution of an image before you post it? And is there... Oh, that's all I have.
Okay, so the way I check resolution is kind of old school. I just look at it and see if it looks blurry. And then when I upload it, if it looks like it's not sharp, then I will, pick a different photo, or for some reason, a freak event, and when I publish it, it turned out blurry for whatever reason. Sometimes when LinkedIn, when it was bought by Microsoft recently, it made some changes, so things weren't being posted as well, so I just delete it. I think your resolution, I know in the newspaper business it used to be 300 resolution pixels. I don't know if that's as true on social media. I know the files actually have to be smaller, so it is a little tricky. But I guess like anything 1 megabyte, would be high quality, and then once you put it onto social media, it will decrease in resolution. So if someone pulls it from your Twitter, it's not going to be as sharp. But you want to upload it as sharp as possible, but it doesn't have to be a 10 MB file. Yes, sir.
I've noticed on my personal Twitter, occasionally I'll get bombed with 300 new people following me, and they're people from Europe and no one I know. Does that happen often? And is there a way to sort of control who follows you?
Okay, so, well, first of all, that's really cool.
Well, yes and no, because they already...
It depends. The reason I think it's cool is because Twitter is, it's a global network for us, a global networking channel, and I'm not sure what you're putting out. If it's like, what type of posts do you do?
It was my personal account, so it was...
on Twitter?
On Twitter.
So you also have your company has one and you have your own. So let me ask you, why is it your personal? Why do you consider that personal on Twitter? Like it's your individual, right?
My individual.
Right. So maybe you're getting followed because if you're putting things out with any thought leadership from a business perspective, then you're getting people's attention, and people are interested in learning and seeing more. And even though it's a personal Twitter, it's become a professional presence for you. And if there are people in Europe following you, I just had dinner with some Europeans in Florida, and it was great. We talked about all kinds of fascinating subjects. So, you know, I think if Europeans are noticing that you're putting out key information, that could be a good thing. Or if someone, it could also be one popular person follows you, and then all their followers follow you. So you'd have to really check the followers, see who they are. Everyone knows what that blue check mark means on Twitter and Facebook. By people's names. It means like they're verified, or it's like a public figure, or you know, TD Bank is verified because that's the TD Bank. I'm working on getting PJ Pancakes verified very soon. It's like a top priority. So that's what I would say. But I'd say Facebook is a little more easy to keep it personal, because you have settings where you can keep certain posts and photos private. But Twitter, that's your professional presence. And it's different from LinkedIn because that's your professional story, but Twitter is sort of your professional voice out to whatever industry you're targeting.
Question?
Yes.
So how about utilizing like the IFTTT app, or you know, you're posting on Instagram, and you know, you can use it on Facebook or Twitter, you know, through that.
Right.
As well. What's your take on utilizing that?
Right. I was going to get to that at the end in terms of tools, but yes, there are all kinds of tools that can help you use these different channels. I use something called Sprout Social for my professional clients. Sprout Social helps you schedule posts. There's also something called Hootsuite. Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty popular. And you know, if I had enough time in the day, I would sit and like plan all Elephant CC's posts. And sometimes I do schedule things out on Facebook, for example, because you can schedule when a post goes. But a lot of what I do is sort of impulsive. I just like do it. But for your businesses, when you're doing a strategic plan, it's very good to strategically schedule things. And then when you're doing live, you add in those live posts in between. So I highly recommend like the researching and seeing what tool, whether it's an app for your phone or something on a desktop, is best for you in terms of tracking your engagement. And we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. Does that answer your question at all? Yeah. So the answer is yes. Okay, so very important here is engage in trending topics featuring hot hashtags. Now you can be the creator of that hot hashtag, and if it hasn't been used before, then people start retweeting it, then you know you're the source of that hashtag. Also, there could be really good hashtags that are used that it's still cool to put posts out with those hashtags, because then you're riding the trending wave and increasing your chance for engagement. Because if someone is tweeting about Easter, hashtag Easter, and someone clicks on that Easter, everyone who's just tweeted about Easter will come up on the live, come up on the stream of recent tweets. And because you chose to use hashtag Easter because it's trending and you're being strategic, then your posts then get featured with everyone who's tweeting about that trending topic that day. And that increases your chance of getting retweeted. Basically, basic trending topics: holidays, social happenings, events, breaking news, and then causes. And also in terms of your branding, you know, so let's say you are I've already done banker. Let's say that you're a florist. So you love flowers. Your Facebook page can really be an extension of your love of flowers, and also have your family in there, sort of tell your personal story. Your professional LinkedIn page would sort of be that business presence of how you got to that point as a florist opening her shop in Mount Holly for the first time. So you're putting that out there, and you're putting a business location. And then for Twitter, you can put out thought leadership. And let's say that florist cares about, you know, like I said before, monarch butterflies. That could be a cause that you take on, that you become a champion of, and then that can actually help build your brand presence on all different social media channels. Drive more people to your website, and then also give you the ability to set trends if you pick a niche and explore that. And businesses can have multiple niches or multiple campaigns per year that they put out a trending topic for, and again, you as professionals have a passion. You can put it out on the different channels in a way that can make a difference, and also accentuate you as a professional who gives back to the community or cares about a cause to make a difference. And very quickly, how to build and repurpose strategic content on posts. That's very important because for example, when I share something on Facebook, I have to share it a little differently on Twitter. And if I go ahead and share it on LinkedIn, which normally I don't share the same things on LinkedIn as I do on Twitter and Facebook, you have to recompose it for the different audiences. So obviously Twitter, you're limited to X amount of characters. Facebook, you can go on and on, but again, it's more strategic to be concise on Facebook as well. And then LinkedIn is that professional thought leadership. But this magic formula, which the chamber was so nice to say, Jen's magic formula. I wanted to be modest, just put magic formula. But number one, know your audience. Know your audience is so important. So obviously, if you're on LinkedIn, you're targeting different people. If you're on Twitter, sort of the whole world. You know, the whole world's the oyster. And to answer your question before, you can actually block people. So if people follow you don't want to follow, you can block them on Twitter. And then LinkedIn as well. So know your audience, restructure content per channel. So with Twitter, I always, if I can, like 99.9%, add a hashtag. Change up images. So if I'm posting one story and it's in NJ.com about the effort at the State House to defund newspapers and all that good stuff, it could get shared on Facebook just by sharing NJ.com's report. But on Twitter, I could create like a nice post, pull the headline, jazz it up a little bit, add a hashtag free press, put a URL for the article, and then tag the governor, tag NJ.com, tag American Press Association. There's just no limits of what you can do. And then, so that's basically tagging the top targets, and then embrace current trends and set new ones. Any questions about knowing your audience, restructuring content, changing up images is pretty obvious. If you're posting about one event, you can use 3 different images on 3 different channels, and it just tells the story more. And then tagging top targets and embracing current trends and setting new ones. So one thing I hope would be a takeaway from today is that you have the ability to set trends in your personal life, your professional future, the things that matter to you, the causes, your community, as well as support the campaigns of your company that you work for. If they're doing something in May, like a food drive, you can use your Twitter and your Facebook to support that, and that's why the hashtag again comes into play. So potential reach, deliver engagement, capitalize on impressions. It's going back to just engage. The benefits and possibilities are limitless on social media. It can also be dangerous. It has an impact on, it can destroy businesses. I don't know if anyone remembers the fire, was it last year in Alberta? That horrible fire that took out like a whole town in Canada, and one of the airlines price gouged. And it's the airline that also is partly subsidized by the government. So they had a marketing disaster, and Twitter was a big part of people at the airport saying, price gouging is going on, and it allowed a smaller competitor to come up as sort of the hero saying, we're flying everyone for free, and bring your dogs, bring the puppies, and putting those puppies on social media too. But that's an example of, you can have disasters from social media, so you have to be very careful. But you can have really, really great things happen too, especially if your heart's in the right place. And you can always delete it if there's a mistake. Hopefully no one saw it. Very quickly, wild card. So the wild card today is something I'll admit I'm very novel in my understanding about, but it's changing the way that information is being assessed by corporations as well as marketing firms. And so as a professional, it's good for you to be aware of these terms, to research it on your own and see how it's applicable to whatever topics your business focuses on or whatever interest matters to you the most. But data science, big data, data artists. Does anyone know what this is? Okay. So right now, there's sort of this new generation of people in the workforce in like their mid or late 20s, I guess the millennials, are entering the workforce, and a lot of the companies, large companies that analyze stock markets, that forecast profitability for different corporations, that have algorithms that other trading companies spend hundreds of millions of dollars to access these algorithms. But they were a little outdated. They were like created in 1980, 1988, 1990. And now we have millennials coming in who, because the brain has been programmed a little differently over the past 10 or so years, they look at data differently. They look at information differently. And in the past, if a corporation is just pulling analytics from the location and the tax, the millennials are coming in and saying, well, what about the social media impact? What about how many times this business was negatively tweeted? What about the biggest influencer at this company, or the person that just left the company that's tweeting about a hostile takeover, the shareholders? So they're basically looking at all these different virtual pieces of information, and now it's all being added into the way that businesses are assessing content, especially when it comes to commerce. And so people that do that are data artists, and it also can be like soda. Data artists can go in and see how many corporations have tweeted about diet soda. And then from there, they can actually pull out who's tweeting the most and even forecast what could happen next. And that's basically, data science. It's a way that's changing the way that we vote, the way that we read, the way that we intake information. Basically, everything we put on social media, there's data behind us now too, so we are part of these numbers. So, but by elevating your own voice in social media, and have your brand be something that you're proud of, your personal brand, and also have it, even if you have a passion that's separate from your day job, always have your personal brand be a complement to your professional brand, so it supports one another. And be results driven, track your followers, measure the level of engagement, and again, that's where we get to the Sprout Social, which is a really great tool to help you track that. Twitter also gives you analytics, as does Facebook. So if you start putting out every day a new post, and you're doing it strategically, and you're making sure the posts have a great image, are compelling, trending, have a URL, interactive, you should see your followers start to increase. And if you don't, you might want to take a look at what you're doing and assess what's working and what's not working. And you also want to follow, very important, the traffic to your website. So you can actually go to your website and get analytics to see how many people from Facebook, Twitter, or even LinkedIn went from a post to your website. And then you can see, measure that success. And now is the time to engage. So I hope everyone who has Twitter, please take a moment and today, #EngageNow. And remember, the sky's the limit. It could be a little stormy out there, but if you get through the little hesitation and start putting out your brand messaging, you'll be able to develop it more, and it will help actually lift you up and propel you to unknown destinations. Again, engage now. Everyone who's interested, come up for a group photo. Oh, any questions?
Yeah, and we have some wrap up to do before we go out for a group photo.
Okay, wonderful.
But, Jen, I want to just ask you a question. You mentioned it very briefly at the end, negative tweets, negative Facebook posts. Do you engage? Do you not engage? What are your recommendations? Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. So one of the things that made Elephants DC successful back in 2013 and 14 is that a lot of people are upset finding out that 96 elephants are killed a day, one every 15 minutes. There's less than 300,000 on the planet, and a lot of people were being very hateful to China. A lot of the social media posts were very, very, China this, China that, because it's the #1 consumer. But, being a Northeast gal, I said, well, U.S. is the second trader. So instead of hating on China, we took social media as a chance for call to action at home. And then we were able to have many different successes that people in Washington, D.C. said it was impossible. Like, they told us impossible to ban all library sales. But we, leveraged social media. We also had great champions. And together, you can create positive change. Other negativity things to be aware of, if you put out negative posts and if you put out a negative tweet, even if it's an elected official, just be very careful of that, because you'll be attracting perhaps more negative people, either on your side or not. It doesn't look, in my opinion, doesn't look professional. It's not making the world a better place. And you can challenge, negative, you can challenge, naysayers in a way that's positive, that sort of like turns the tide in the other direction, and then you'll be able to achieve a lot more on social media. And then, of course, if it's like a post where someone's being made fun of, I would never in a million years share anything like that. But just be careful, because we're all passionate. So if someone's, if there's an entity that's after something you believe in, instead of attacking that person, speak up for what you believe in, and then develop a hashtag, and then you get more people like, yeah, they're right, not that guy. Yes.
I have a question about hashtags. Do you have suggestions or best practices for ways to publicize your hashtag if you're creating one?
That's a great question. Yes. A very important way to publicize a hashtag that you create, and sometimes you put some out there and see what works, see what doesn't. But one thing I'm a huge proponent of is having an image. So if this was a postcard and I had like a particular cause, like you know, save dolphins, or you know, I don't know, save dolphins, okay? Hashtag save dolphins, or you know, or how about Earth Day? We're doing an event in New Jersey. Let's say it's in Trenton. So Earth Day NJ, okay? So hashtag Earth Day NJ. I would do capital E and then capital D for day. So it's just broken up visually. So hashtag Earth Day and then NJ, all capitalized. And I put this out in the post. And if I had this as a printout, I would have that hashtag there. And you know, you'd want to put that out ideally 6 weeks ahead. Social media, it would potentially, you could go out, start promoting it further. But if you put the hashtag on a visual, full image, that definitely helps get it out there. And that's what it's really all about, because the hashtags to inspire action. So those images help it. Everyone remember the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls? Mm-hmm. That was like an anomaly, because in addition to it being such a tragic event, normally long hashtags don't work, and that one went viral. So there's some other ones that go viral. So you can have a great hashtag, and if it complements your brand and tells your story and evokes some kind of bigger picture, that is great. It can be a little bit universal, but also those hashtags after breaking events. Those are key, and sometimes it's just like, you know, throwing the dice up. You don't know why Just Sweet Perry was the one that went viral, like We Are Paris, but it did. But one thing that did help with that is that some Parisian artists right away put some images out, you know, sort of like, you know, different faces with Just Sweet Perry. So it's very important to have both. Was that all of your question?
That was it.
Okay. One last question?
No.
Oh, I guess what you, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, I'm the administrator for the company's Facebook page, and also I have my personal Facebook page as well. And I just log on and can control either one. Is Twitter the same way? Like, I have a personal Twitter. Would I have to create an entire new login for a
Yes.
company's Twitter?
Yes, so Facebook is different in terms of users. So with Facebook, they have your personal account manages the pages. It used to be different. Pages used to be their own entities. Long story, Facebook is changing all the time. With Twitter, every account and Instagram needs its own login, needs its own setup, needs its own email address. But on your phone, on my Twitter app, I've got like 25 Twitter accounts. So it is one app. It does appear on one app.
Okay.
I was gonna say you can manage it all from one.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all so much. Hashtag engage now.